Hey guys, today I'm going to be doing my Friday review and current reads. The darkest minds tend to hide the most unlikely faces. Written by Alexander Bracken, Chubbs speaking. So, Darkest Minds by Alexander Bracken is about a 16-year-old girl named Ruby who at the age of 10 did something that scared her parents so much that she was put into these camps. 6 years later, she escapes from these camps. On the way meets Liam, Chubbs, and Zuzu, who are trying to find this place where it's supposed to be like a safe haven for people like them. So let's just get on with this review. Just begin with the writing. Overall, I really liked the dark style of her writing, the grittiness that came off of it, and just the very sharp everything was kind of sharp. The other thing that I really enjoyed from her writing was how well she paced it. It didn't feel too fast or too slow. I just felt like there was a real good balance, and I was kind of surprised to find so many people who actually didn't really like the pacing. And I think that maybe just because it has this very journey-esque type story going on, and that can drag for people who are not really into that kind of stories. And it's like, if you didn't really like The Lord of the Rings or The Hobbit, then this book might not be your thing, because there's a lot of on-the-road type stuff going on. And so that might be an issue for you, but for me, it wasn't really that much of an issue, and there was a real great balance between the times that they were just driving and the other times when there was action. And even when they were just driving, there was something going on. So I just didn't really see the issue. The major issue I had with her writing was that there were several grammatical / sentence structural issues. I didn't really see a lot just because I really loved this story in this book, so I might have easily overlooked it, and I tend to do that if I'm really enjoying it. But I was trying to keep a close eye on these things, and I noticed it a lot more towards the end of the book. It wasn't like it was a major issue or anything, because it didn't take away from my reading experience, but I did feel like these mistakes were something that should have been easily caught by the editors and even her. So I just don't know what happened, because like these were very blatant errors that should have been caught. But like I said, I really did enjoy her writing. I think it was very beautiful. It was dark and gritty, and the story itself is dark and gritty, and I think that she did really well in grabbing the atmosphere and giving you what the feel of it. It was all really well done. To the story, as I said before, it's a very dark story, and her writing reflects that, but it's also filled with a lot of suspense. Like, should she be trusting this person? Should she be really doing this? Should they all be doing this? What's going to happen next? So I really loved that Alexander Bracken kept you going with these questions, wanting more. So I really enjoyed that part of it. So when we first start reading the book, we see her in the camp. And there's no spoilers to this, because this is all things that you know from the back page. So in the first chapter, she's in the camp, and we see something happening, and then all of a sudden, the next chapter is her back in the past when she's 10 years old, and we barely get anything out of it, just the basics of what was going on at the time, and then all of a sudden she's back in the camp. So I felt like there was a little bit of a whiplash going on, and I was like, what in the world? This is too fast for me. Like, whoa, put on the brakes here. Like, either make it so that you're from the past and go straight to the, because either way we would have been caught. Like, I would have been caught from the story because of that. But I just didn't really like that she went back and forth and just that quick of a timeline. I just felt like, if you're gonna go back, at least get a little bit more detailed with it. Don't let us just there and then grab us right back. I don't like that. And I was really disappointed, because I thought when she took us back, she was going to tell us what happened between her and her family. But we don't see that until way later. And I did actually really like how she handled that. I thought it was really great because of what was happening in that moment. But I just felt like the whole back and forth between time at the beginning was unnecessary, and it just wasn't something that I myself cared for, because it was just too quick, just not enough of the backstory for it to be necessary. As I said, I really liked the story. I liked getting to know Ruby and Liam and Chubbs and Zuzu, and I just really loved the powers aspect. It came off very reminiscent to the TV show Heroes, and if you've watched it, you might understand where I'm coming from, or maybe you don't even then, but for me it just really came off very much like Heroes in some parts, and I was just so thrilled about it because I really did like the first season of Heroes a lot. I just really liked the progression and what was the mystery and what was going to happen next, and it just grabbed you from the get-go, and it was just so great, I think. Also, when I was just about to like start reading this book, I had like a major fear, because if you haven't watched my review of the Unbecoming of Mara Diary, you might not understand like what's been going on, but of late I've been having major issues with YA, especially when it comes to the romance in the books. So I wasn't sure if this book was going to be fluffy, but I was afraid it was going to be fluffy because of the predictable YA romance stuff that always seems to overtake the main story / plot line, and I was really worried that it was going to happen in this one. But yes, it did not. The romance didn't even happen at halfway point. Even then, it was kind of like they were like, I like you and I like you, but should we be, liking each other? And it was just like this normal, typical teenage thing. It's not instant, oh my gosh, I love you and I can't live without you kind of a thing. It was just like, I really like you and I want to be with you, but things are happening here. It's crazy shit going on. And I thought it was just really well done. And the development between Ruby and Liam was very natural. And I hope that wasn't a spoiler right there, because I don't think it was, considering. But anyways, I just really loved that the romance was so natural and it didn't overtake the story and anything like that. So, way to go, Alexander Bracken. I'm loving you for that. And then, just to say something about, like, the last third of the book, when they get to that place and they meet that certain somebody, you know who I'm talking about if you've read this book, I was like, oh crap, shit is going to hit the ceiling. But when it did hit the ceiling, I was like, holy crap, I totally did not expect that to happen, and my heart was stomped on and broken, and oh my gosh, what's going on? Totally did not expect that ending, and I think it wasn't very satisfying ending, not like, oh well, I can get away with not reading the second book, but kind of had this knowledge of where Ruby is going, but you also have this really great cliffhanger of left with enough questions to keep you going, but you're left with some answers of what's going to be happening next. But yeah, I have to get Never Fade like pronto, and I have it on hold at the library, and I've been like going onto the webpage for it and just like clicking on it. I'm like, why aren't you here already? So now let's get on to those characters. We have Ruby, who I really, really like. She's the main character, and of course you're kind of expected to like her, but whatever. I really did like her. I think she was very realistic and imperfect, and that's brilliant because I don't like a perfect character. She didn't make her too much of this or too much of that, and I felt like all the reactions and all the things that she chose was pretty realistic considering her circumstances and stuff. Like, I totally got where she was coming from, even though maybe I wouldn't do some of the things. Maybe I would, who knows, but I just felt like she was a really relatable person. She wasn't like this perfect, I have to be strong and I'm gonna beat all these people and blah 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 blah. There was this fear that was there, but yet she was trying to be strong, which I really liked a lot from her. Then we have Chubbs and Liam, and out of these two, I really like Chubbs the most. He had this like hard shell where he was wary of any outsiders, but once he started to trust you, you were in that circle forever with him. And he's just this really loyal and great friend, and I just loved him a lot, like a whole lot. And he was my favorite out of the two, Liam and Chubbs. Liam for me was a little bit too soft. I just felt like he just was so naive and way too optimistic for his own good and for his circumstances. But at the same time, I understand he was trying to balance Chubbs out. So I get it, but I really didn't care for it because it just wasn't that realistic for me. But I really did like Liam overall, and I felt that Ruby and him fit. But my absolute favorite character has to be Zuzu. Zuzu is the most adorable person in the world, and like I want her to be real so much right now. She's just so cute, and I want her back in the story next book, and if she's not, I'm gonna be really pissed off. Like, really, Bracken. She better be in there. She just better be, okay? So, I really did feel that Alexandra Bracken had a lot of great connections with her own characters, and it really came off really well when you're reading the books. Like, you could totally tell that she put a lot of effort and a lot of time in creating them, and that they came off very real to her even. So, I really appreciated that. I loved it. So, that was my review. I gave it 4 stars. If it weren't for some of the issues that I had, it would have been a 5, of course. I really and truly enjoyed this book a whole lot. The book I'm currently reading is Anne of Avonlea by Ella Montgomery. This is the second book in the Anne of Green Gables series, and I've been rereading them. I am trying to reread my books alongside my new books, because that is a New Year's goal for me. So I started out with Anne of Green Gables series because these are my all-time favorites and that I have to read at least once a year. So I thought I would start out with something that would be very easy for me to get through, and that was something actually that I was hungry to read for a long time. So this is happening. So that was all for this video. Tell me what you're currently reading and what you thought of Darkest Minds if you've read the book, and I will see you in the next one. So let's get on with the review. What?